Hello folks, welcome back to Lucid Dreams, Threads of Eternity. I hoped you enjoyed our last story, The Jinn. Today, I will be sharing The First Wish, the third in our series. So, grab your favorite beverage, kick up your feet, and let's see how Will and Lira connect. The first time I called Lira at dawn after that first night, she stepped out of the decanter like the rising sun itself, smiling, patient, already reaching for the garden gloves I'd left on the counter. 6 months of mornings like that followed, and every one of them felt borrowed. She always knew that when the clock struck midnight, she would be pulled back into the vessel, helpless until I summoned her again at daybreak. Still, during the long daylight hours, she was mine to call. We fell into a quiet rhythm. At first light, I would lift the crystal stopper and say simply, "Lira, come walk with me today." And she would appear, barefoot and glowing faintly, ready. We worked the garden together, her hands in the soil beside mine, pulling weeds or coaxing tomato vines up their stakes. She never rushed. She'd pause over a struggling pepper plant and murmur, "Feel how it reaches, Will. It's not begging, it's just asking to be seen." I'd grumble something wry about talking to vegetables, but I started noticing things, the way the leaves turned toward her voice, the small relief in the soil after we watered. The emptiness in my chest didn't vanish, but it stopped feeling like a black hole. It felt more like a room with the lights off, waiting for someone to flip the switch. The snake room became our second home. 20 tanks, but Scarlet owned the place. My first snake, a magnificent 10-foot Suriname red-tailed boa I'd raised from the day she was born in my care 15 years earlier. She was gentle in the way only big constrictors can be, deliberate, calm, never striking unless something truly threatened her. Large boas like her ate only every 4 to 6 weeks, so we only lifted her on evenings when few days had passed since her last meal. When it was a safe time for her to join me, I'd lift her out and she'd flow over my shoulders like a living rope, head resting near my ear. The bond had always been unusual for her kind. Vets called it impossible. Now, she relaxed with Lira too. The first time Lira held her after the proper waiting period, Scarlet flowed across both of us, heavy and warm, a living bridge. Lira laughed softly, the sound like distant wind through pines. "She trusts you completely," she said. "And now she trusts me because you do." I felt something loosen in my ribs that day. Empathy, Alana had called it in the letter. Lira was teaching it to me through scales and soil and silence, though I'd never admit out loud how much a snake was schooling me in feelings. We took the truck north on weekends, up into the Georgia mountains, switchbacks outside Dahlonega, trails around Amicalola Falls where the air smelled of pine and granite. Lira walked beside me, never tiring, pointing out deer tracks or the way light fractured through leaves. Once, on a narrow ridge, a young couple ahead of us argued in low voices. The woman's shoulders were tight, the man's hands gestured too sharply. I caught myself slowing, watching, actually feeling the shape of their frustration like a weight in my own gut. Before I could stop myself, I called out, "Trail's slippery up here. Might want to slow down a little." They looked startled, then grateful. The woman smiled. Lira squeezed my hand once, quick and warm. "You heard them," she said later, as we sat on a fallen log sharing water. "Not with your ears. With the part of you Alana hoped would wake up. The part your military father tried to kill with 'Cowboys Don't Cry.' The part that always knew how to see what others felt, even when you couldn't feel it yourself." I didn't answer, but I felt it. The hollow man was learning to listen. All those months I was 65 and felt every year of it. My knees complained on the steeper trails. My reflection in the truck mirror showed silver in the stubble, lines carved deep around eyes that had seen too much hospital lighting. Lira never mentioned it. She touched my arm, laughed at my dry jokes, leaned into me when the mountain wind kicked up. But I noticed the way her gaze lingered sometimes, curious, warm, wanting. I wanted her back with a fierceness that embarrassed me. Not just companionship, her. The curve of her waist when the gossamer shifted, the way her hair moved like it had its own tide. At night, after the clock hit midnight and she was pulled back into the decanter, I lay awake thinking of her eternal, majestic, and me, temporary. I knew where I was headed one day, home, the place Alana waited. but not yet. Not while daylight still belonged to Lira. Scarlet seemed to know. On the evenings we sat in the snake room, the big boa would coil around my torso and rest her head on Lyra's lap, perfectly still, tongue at rest. I had loved animals since I was small, always had dogs, befriended every squirrel and crow that would let me, and Alana had finally surrendered after 38 years. We have rules. No frozen rodents on the kitchen counter. The snake stays in the office, Alana said with a grin. She never had to touch it. 2 years later, she was kissing Scarlet full on the face, laughing at her own melted heart. Lira would stroke her scales and say, "See how she gives without asking anything back? That's what you're learning, Will, to give the same way." I'd rest my hand on Scarlet's warm bulk and feel the slow beat of her heart against mine, steady and trusting. It was the closest thing to family the house had felt in a long time. By the end of month 5, the wanting had grown, wanting what I can't have. We were on a trail above Vogel State Park, late October light turning the hardwoods gold. Lira walked ahead, hair catching the sun, and I caught her hand without thinking. She turned, captured me with her magnetic eyes, and for a moment neither of us moved. The air between us felt charged, electric. I wanted to pull her close, show her more than my words could, but the clock in my head ticked toward midnight. I let go first, smiling crookedly. "Daylight's burning," I said. She nodded, but her fingers lingered a second longer than necessary. That night, after she returned to the vessel, I sat on the edge of the bed with the decanter in my hands and let the thoughts come. Was any of this real? The way she looked at me, the way Scarlet trusted her, the way I was changing, slowly, stubbornly, into someone who could actually feel another person's quiet ache? Or was I still in that first dream, the endless gray one, inventing comfort because the alternative was too bleak? I closed my eyes and let the wondering settle. I stand in the garden at twilight, but the plants glow faintly, roots visible through transparent soil like veins. Scarlet is there too, enormous, coiled around the base of the old oak, perfectly still, like a flat tire. Lira appears across the rows, radiant, eternal. I walk toward her, but each step feels heavier, my body aging visibly, shoulders rounding, hands spotting, breath shortening. She waits, patient, loving, but I can see the ache in her eyes at the thought of losing me too soon. "I want to be worthy," I tell her in the dream. "Not just for a handful of years, for as long as you'll have me." Her smile is soft. I shaped the words like they might break if I breathed wrong. Clean, honest, no greed in them so it carries no demand, only honest longing. I wish to become the finest version my own bloodline can offer. Mind sharp, body at its absolute peak as if I were 27 again, strong and vital in every way, including the ways that would let me cherish and satisfy you completely, Lira, without ever making you feel you must hold back. Let this form stay with me until the day we must part, or my life ends through true extremity. Let no disease touch me, cancer, infection, nothing small, only something vast enough to break me, so I can give you real time, all the time daylight will allow. The words feel clean, not greedy, just true. Scarlet flicks her tongue once in approval. Lyra's eyes shine. I woke with the wish burning clear in my chest. The next morning, I lifted the cork at first light. Lira stepped out, already smiling, but I didn't reach for the gloves or the truck keys. I took her hands instead, both of them, and looked straight into those swirling eyes. "Lira," I said, voice steady even though my pulse wasn't. "I've thought about this for months. I don't want to waste what we have. I want to be with you, not just walking beside you, but really with you. The way a man should be with someone I swallowed. Someone he loves. But I'm 65 and you're forever. So I'm making my first wish. And I'm asking it carefully because I never want you to think I see you as something to use. I see you as someone I want to deserve." She went very still, the glow around her brightening. "I wish," I said, "that my body and mind become the absolute best my genetic ancestry can offer. Peak condition, as if I were in my late 20s, strong and healthy and in every way that would let me cherish a woman as magnificent as you, without reservation or limitation. Let me stay at that optimal age and vitality until the day we part or I meet my end by extreme trauma. No illness will ever claim me, only something powerful enough to actually break me. I want to give you as many real days, and nights if the rules ever allow, as possible. Because I love you, Lira, and I want you to love me the same way, if possible. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the air ignited. Power rolled through the kitchen like a silent thunderclap. Light poured out of the decanter and into me, white gold, warm, alive. My spine straightened with a crack. Muscles I hadn't felt in decades swelled and tightened under my skin. Silver vanished from my hair, lines smoothed from my face. My hands, broad, strong, unlined, flexed, and I felt every tendon sing. I gasped once, laughing in pure astonishment as the years melted away and left a man of 27 staring back from the window reflection. Tall, broad-shouldered, clear-eyed, undeniably equipped to worship the woman in front of me. Lyra's hands flew to her mouth. Tears, actual sparkling tears, slid down her cheeks. "Will," her voice cracked with joy. "You did this for me. You beautiful, impossible human." She laughed, bright and wild, and threw herself into my arms. We held each other tightly, breathing the same air, our hearts beating in perfect rhythm. After all the years apart, the connection between us felt warm, magnetic, and alive with everything we had never said. We didn't rush. We lingered in the living room, sinking onto the couch in a tangle of soft laughter and quiet joy. We shared deep, lingering kisses filled with salt and promise, kisses that spoke of time lost and time finally found. My hands gently traced her back, not in haste, but with the tender curiosity of rediscovering someone I had never truly forgotten. Every touch carried the weight of years apart and the sweetness of being together again. Being close to her felt like coming home and like the start of something new, electric, warm, and full of quiet hope. We moved together in a slow, gentle dance of closeness and devotion, wrapped in waves of joy and reconnection. Yet we stopped just short of going further. Not yet. She was still bound to the vessel. That patient ache only made the moment feel more sacred, like a promise waiting to be kept. "When I am free," she whispered against my neck, her voice warm and trembling. "Then we can truly be us." Lira spoke softly, gentle but firm, her fingers threading through my hair. "Will, wishes always have consequences. Like firing a rifle, there is always a recoil." I held her closer, the words settling into me like a quiet truth. Even in this moment of light and fire, a small, familiar hollow stirred inside my chest, the same hollow that had lived there since Alana. It reminded me that every joy here carried its shadow, and that somewhere beyond these dreams, beyond even Lira's bright laughter and the miracle of her touch, there waited a deeper home. A place where no waiting was needed, and all longings were finally, gently answered. Then the beacon hit. A pulse of energy surged outward from us, visible like a ripple in reality itself. The windows rattled. The decanter flared so bright I had to shield my eyes. Lira sat up sharply, joy draining into something sharper. "They saw," she whispered. "Who?" Lira continues whispering. "The adversaries, the ones who serve the shadows beneath the singularity. They crave chaos, the unraveling of every good bond. A wish this pure, rooted in love, not greed, sends a signal they cannot ignore. They are already turning their eyes this way, and they know my weakness. I am still a slave to the decanter. Every midnight I must return to it and remain trapped until you call me at dawn. They will try to exploit that. They will come for me when I am powerless inside the vessel." I looked at my hands, young, strong, steady, and at the woman I loved, glowing and fierce beside me. Outside, the Georgia morning was ordinary, birds singing, sunlight on the garden. But inside my chest, the old hollow was gone, replaced by something fierce and protective. I pulled her close again. "Then we'll face it together," I said, "daylight by daylight, and I'll guard you every night." She smiled, but her eyes held the first real shadow I'd ever seen in them. Somewhere far away, something ancient, evil, hungry, just picked up the scent of prey. The beast has now started tracking for its next meal. What an episode! Who would have known a human and a Jinn find each other? In episode 4, I will be sharing Shadows at Midnight. We'll see if the staying power of love is real. Does it keep Will and Lira safe? Let's find out.